I'm Brea, and this is my story. My introductory phase on Earth wasn't as happy as America's sitcoms portrayed. Even though I was born into a Christian family, God was put in the background, and He was only cried to when there was hurt and desperation. My father was my first heartbreak. My mom was very sick for a while, and she was left to raise 3 girls on her own. My grandparents held us together until they later divorced and then moved back to Colorado. They introduced me to my love and passion for worship. I hadn't even made it to junior high, and it seemed that everyone I had loved up to that point had left me. Not only my father and grandparents, but I also lost my first best friend in a car accident and another close friend to cancer. I was angry at God. I didn't understand why I wasn't enough to be loved. A lot of my hurt surfaced as anger outbursts, and I intentionally pushed my mom away because I feared that if I showed that I loved her, she would leave me too. I often questioned why I was even alive. Even though I graduated high school on time, with receiving my diploma as well as a CNA certification while living on my own, and despite being told several times that I wouldn't, my ways of coping were dangerous and selfish. The summer after high school, I partied harder than ever. I completely lost myself. I ran into an old friend and we became inseparable. She had just found out that she was pregnant, and she didn't party as much at the time, but after she had the baby, we partied every night. She was unable to find a babysitter one night and brought her almost 2-month-old baby to a party. I felt guilty and decided to take him home for the night so that he wasn't in that kind of environment. This situation quickly turned into a habit, and even though I didn't give birth, I became a mom at 19 years old. With regular drug deals out of the house, the father was caught and put on probation. Soon after, my friend found out she was pregnant again. They both continued regular drug and alcohol use throughout her pregnancy. After a very scary and complicated delivery, the strongest baby girl I've ever met was born. Soon after her birth, the father was sent back to prison, and my friend had no desire to be a mother. In my own desperation, with the help of my mom, an amazing attorney, judge, and most importantly God, we received full guardianship of my precious babies. I knew in that moment that my purpose was to be a mom for them and to protect them and keep them safe. I couldn't love them anymore even if I had given birth to them. Before anything else, I am their mom, and even though our road has been anything but smooth, I know that it could have been worse. Although I wasn't as angry with God, I still struggled with an aching soul. Instead of thriving on self-pity, I made the choice to always look for the good and the bad, though. And I really wanted to show my kids that even though life is messy, you can still persevere. I found out that both of my grandpas had been diagnosed with cancer. I struggled grasping that reality, more so with my papa's diagnosis. He was the closest thing I had ever had to a dad. He was my hero, my shoulder to lean on. He was supposed to walk me down the aisle when I found a man brave enough to put up with me. His last wish for me was to find a church home and to serve wherever God had led me. In January 2017, after struggling deeply with feeling like I didn't have a home, I walked into New Life, which was a very welcoming atmosphere, and written in the letters, "You are home," was projected on the wall. The message that day was what I needed to hear. God led me home and showed me that He does love me. I had to be broken down of my sinful ways, though, so that I could be closer to Him. At the end of February 2017, God called my papa home. 6 months later, my other grandpa was called home as well. Last fall, I had been having some ongoing health issues. They quickly escalated. I should have died. I was found unresponsive and quickly taken to the ER by ambulance. I had pneumonia and excess fluid flooded my heart, and as a result, I was in full-blown heart failure at 28 years old. I was admitted to the ICU in critical condition. I prayed. First, I thanked God for the best sleep of my life. Then I cried out to Jesus with my entire being. I surrendered completely to Him, and for the first time that I could ever remember, I actually wanted to live. With God and a lot of determination, after being found on a Friday, I literally walked my happy self out of the ICU that Sunday and made it home in time to watch church online. My close call with death made me make some major lifestyle changes. I really wanted to be actively involved with the church. One of the best decisions I had ever made was to join a life group, and I gained some of the best friends that I have ever been blessed with. God started placing burning desires in my heart. When I felt I wasn't enough to fulfill those desires, He showed me His unconditional love and mercy. He led me to audition for the worship team and calmed my anxiety when I almost backed out. I really can't even begin to explain how much God has truly blessed me by giving me an opportunity to fulfill my passion of singing praise to Him. I faced a lot of struggles as a teenager, and even through a lot of self-doubt, God opened my eyes to our youth. After dancing with procrastination, I finally caved and reached out to our youth pastor, Sarah. The churches in my past didn't appreciate a sense of humor, and sarcasm was always frowned upon, but yours truly thrives on both. I didn't know what to expect, and I knew I couldn't pretend to be who I wasn't. But God wasn't letting my stubborn heart win, so I filled out the volunteer form with some raw truth, light humor, and a sprinkle of sarcasm. Sarah loved it and asked me to meet up with her. In that moment, I was blessed with another amazing friend, and I began my awesome journey serving our amazing youth group. I had set a goal that if I could consistently attend church for a year, I would get baptized. I kind of struggle with commitment issues, so believe me when I say I was pretty surprised when I hit and followed through with my goal. Nailed it! It didn't come easy though. Closer to my year anniversary with the church, the enemy started grasping at straws. My health flared and started having some issues and landed myself in a hospital bed for the first part of the year. The day I was baptized, I marched forth with a high fever, awful pain, and self-doubt. Even being shoved into that uncomfortable ice bucket, I felt God's embrace as sin was washed clean from me. He comforted me, and I am His, I am loved, and I know that I'm enough. I knew then that without holding tight to God, my situation would have been worse. I don't know what my future holds for me. I'm still really hoping that God set aside a brave, hot dude that loves tacos and juice boxes and can fix cars and is down for an anything but ordinary life. But what I do know is that I'm a child of God, and He has a purpose for me. In all of my struggles, I've never been a victim, but a survivor. I challenge myself every day to truly love like Jesus and always leave someone better than the way I was left. I've learned that even in my darkest of times, it could always be worse. I know that Jesus loves me unconditionally, and He died to give me new life.